Okay, hello. So I'm going to show you how to make a super easy pie crust, all right? You're going to start with 4 ingredients, 5 if you include the vodka. But the 4 ingredients are, you need 1 1/3 cups of flour. This should be all-purpose flour, not whole wheat flour. You're going to need 1/3 cup of vegetable oil, because this is a liquid. You're going to want to measure this in a cup, not in the dry measuring things, but in a cup, because they measure very slightly differently. If you don't have one of these things, you can fudge it with the cups. It's not that big a deal, but I'm just trying to explain all the ramifications. You're going to need 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I use the big thick sea salt for it. That's fine. You don't have to worry about getting the thinner kind. You're going to need 2 tablespoons of very cold water. If you're going to use the vodka, then you do 1 tablespoon of very cold water and 1 tablespoon of very cold vodka. This is completely optional, but it is a good secret ingredient because it makes your crust pretty flaky. Okay? You start by sifting the flour. Measure first, then sift, okay? Because otherwise, if you sift first and then measure out the sifted flour, you're going to end up with too little flour for the oil, and it's going to make your crust kind of gross. Measure first, then sift it through. That weird pleasure that you get out of sifting. I don't know why it's a fun thing to do, but it just is. Sift, 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 sift. Do all of this. Sometimes if I get in a hurry, I just pound it like this. As long as it goes through, it's not a big deal. Sift, sift, sift. Here's the rest of that cup. And I'm going to dump this 1/3 cup in. We're almost done. And then we're going to mix in the salt before the oil. That's that. Excellent. We're going to now mix in the salt. 1/2 teaspoon of salt right here. Just sprinkle it in. Use a fork, stir it up. Then you're going to add your oil. And we have 1/3 cup of vegetable oil. You can use any kind of vegetable oil you want. I use canola oil. You can also use lard. Lard is a great substitution. I don't usually do it because technically I'm kind of a vegetarian and I don't like eating animal products, but I will say it makes a great crust. It's also not that easy to find. I live in a Mexican neighborhood, so I can find it more easily, but then it sits on my shelf for all year and ends up going bad. So the only reason I would ever buy lard is to make a really good pie crust. At any rate, so you pour in the oil and then mix it with your fork. All right, you can use a fork or a pastry blender. I don't have a pastry blender. I've never found the need to have one. But you mix it until it looks like crumbs, which is a weird descriptor, but you'll see exactly what I mean, and it doesn't take long at all. Stir, stir, stir. This is what they mean when they say looks like crumbs. All right? Here's the thing though. You want to make sure you don't over stir. Okay? Right now is the perfect time to start mixing in the water and the vodka. I'm going to pause here because there's a piece of equipment that I forgot to pick up, but I'm going to get right back to that.